again in session.
Thank you, Deputy Jones. In the Murray case, the defendant, Dr. Murray, is present with counsel as before. The people by counsel as before. Mr. Phillips once again is on the witness stand. All the jurors and alternates have joined us. Good afternoon again. Mr. Phillips, good afternoon again, sir.
Good afternoon,
You
Judge.
acknowledge, sir, you're still under oath and still sworn to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. This is cross-examination by the people. Mr. Walgren.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Phillips.
Good afternoon, Mr. Walden.
Sir, I believe, I just want to make sure I was correct, that, so you learned of Michael Jackson having a personal physician in May of 2009. I believe you said when you went to the forum after returning from a road trip.
That's correct.
And at that time, in May 2009, you had not yet met the defendant, Conrad Murray, correct?
No, I hadn't.
That's correct?
That is correct.
And then subsequently, you met Conrad Murray and realized that that was the personal physician that had been referenced when you went to the forum in May 2009.
That is correct.
Had you personally or asked anyone to express that there was a possibility AEG would, quote, pull the plug on the tour at any time during the events we've been discussing today?
No, it never got into that.
I'm sorry, never.
Nothing had gotten to the point where we felt we had to do that. Not to mention we had obviously a contractual obligation to Michael as he had to us.
Now, when you first met Dr. Murray, was it at the meeting in the first week of June 2009 that took place at Carrollwood?
I believe that's the first time, to the best of my recollection, that I met Dr. Murray.
And as best you can recall here today, that was in the first week of June?
Correct. That's the best of my recollection.
And did you have any information or any knowledge of what Conrad Murray was doing behind closed doors at the Carrollwood address in regard to treatment of Michael Jackson?
No.
Now, when was it then that you told Dr. Murray that he should look into Dr. Klein, or you expressed something about Dr. Klein? Was that the beginning of June as well?
It was at the end of that meeting that you just referred to.
During the first week of June?
Correct.
And so during the first week of June, you personally spoke to Conrad Murray and told him that he should look into Dr. Klein, or you informed him of Michael's visits to Dr. Klein as something of that nature?
To the best of my memory, it was after the meeting I walked over to him and said that I believe Michael is seeing Dr. Klein for some kind of treatment. Are you aware of that?
And did Dr. Murray respond in any way to what you said?
He was going to say, I believe he said either he knew or he was going to check into it.
Either he knew or he was going to
check into it. I don't remember what the response was.
Either he knew or he was going to check into it.
But he acknowledged hearing what I was saying.
Now, I think you'd used, Mr. Chernoff had asked you a question about the tour, and you said Michael Jackson seemed motivated and energized, and I believe the word used was receptive. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
In all your dealings with Michael Jackson during this preparation for the tour, and just, let's say into the month of June 2009 as you're about to embark on this tour, how would you characterize Michael's demeanor toward this pending tour?
Genius.
What do you mean by that?
He's a genius. There is no entertainer like him in the world today. I mean, he's not here anymore, but he's just an amazing, amazing performer. And his attention to detail was phenomenal, both musically and visually.
And again, as far as in these latter days of June 2009, from your dealings with Mr. Jackson, did he appear motivated and receptive and energized to embark on this tour and complete this tour?
I never felt at any point that he wasn't.
Now, you mentioned at the time that I think you said Paul Gongaware had contacted you, and I think that was the dude reference you made, that he said you needed to add more shows, correct?
Yeah, I was trying to sound like Paul from that conversation, which is hard to do. But yeah, yes, he was the one who called me and told me what was happening with the pre-sale. I was actually in rehearsals with another tour, and he called me in London. I was still there, and he called me and told me that.
And I believe your testimony was that you then, within, I think, 20 minutes or so, you had made contact with Michael Jackson, and he had agreed to these additional dates?
I called Dr. Tomei first, because the protocol in these things, when you're the promoter, is to deal with whoever the rep is for the artist. I called Dr. Tomei first. And then it was followed by a call from Michael Jackson.
And that same day, or a short period of time?
It was 20 minutes after I spoke to Dr. Tomei.
And Michael Jackson agreed to the additional dates?
Yeah. Well, first, Dr. Tomei called me back and said, yes, Mike will do another 19 shows, but no more than 50. We have to stop sales at 50, because we could have kept going, because sales were so strong. So we have to stop at 50. He will work out the schedule with Paul. Basically, that was the call I got from Tomei. And then 20 minutes later, Michael Amir called me saying he has Mr. Jackson for me. And I picked up Michael's call.
And that's when he agreed to the additional dates?
With the conditions, the two conditions.
Okay. And those two conditions, again, you mentioned that he wanted, I think it was 16-acre estate with very pastoral streams and rivers and land.
Rolling lawns, that kind of thing.
And isn't it true the reason he wanted that, and you mentioned he didn't want to be locked up in a hotel room, but the primary reason was he wanted his kids to have the best environment to play and grow up in as normal life as possible while he was on tour?
Yes. I just want to add that he was a phenomenal father. Phenomenal.
And you noticed that in your dealings with Michael Jackson and observing his interactions with Prince, Paris, and Blanket?
That is correct.
And he was dedicated to his children?
They were everything to him, in my observation.
And the second thing he requested was, again, for the attendance of the Guinness Book of World Records to be at the final show, because no performer had ever, or probably would ever, be able to complete 50 shows in that size arena. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Now, in this early June meeting, the one that you indicated happened during the first week of June, and there were concerns about Michael Jackson's nutrition and his weight, correct? That's what was discussed?
That was what was discussed.
And you indicated in questioning to Mr. Chernoff that when these concerns were expressed to Conrad Murray, he stated that Michael Jackson is in great health.
Yes.
And you left this meeting satisfied that any concerns would be taken care of?
I didn't have any reason not to.
And it was very obvious to you, in your words, that Michael Jackson had great trust in Conrad Murray.
Yes.
In the next meeting, then, the June 20th, 2009 meeting, at that meeting, concerns were expressed to Conrad Murray regarding Michael Jackson missing rehearsals.
Yes.
And at that meeting, Conrad Murray guaranteed that he would resolve the situation and that he would take care of Michael Jackson, or words to that effect. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the word was guarantee, but he was very reassuring.
And there was some comment made during that meeting that to Kenny Ortega by Conrad Murray, stating, "You direct a show, I'm the doctor, I'll take care of Michael's health," correct?
That is correct.
Just on June 25th, 2009, Mr. Phillips, when you learned of the situation and went to the house, you said you were not aware of the time, but you were guessing the time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I know it was in the morning.
If the 911 call was placed at 12:20 and the paramedics didn't leave the house until sometime after 1 p.m.
It could have been that time, too.
Okay. I want to ask you about the very last night's rehearsal. You indicated you went to both the June 23rd and June 24th rehearsal?
Yes, I did.
And what was, on June 24th, 2009, what was your last communication or dealing with Michael Jackson?
Well, towards the end of, it was an amazing rehearsal. I had goosebumps, which doing this as long as I have, and as cynical as you can be about the business, it was just one of those incredible experiences watching him perform those incredible songs. I saw him hug Kenny and Travis in a real tight embrace, and then he went back to his dressing room, and then I walked him to his car.
This is Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, which was in the what we call the ramp of Staples Center, which is where the trucks come. They'll say his car was there, and
That's
I walked.
the subterranean area?
Correct, into the backstage. So I walked down the hallway with him, and he put his hands on my shoulders. We were walking out, and he said to me, "You got me here. Now I'm ready. I can take it from here." And he gave me this big hug, and that was the last I saw him.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Thank you. This is redirect examination. Mr. Chernoff.
Mr. Phillips, you said that, I believe your quote was, "Never felt at any time that Michael Jackson wasn't ready for the shows." That's what you just said?
That is correct.
And let's make sure I get this right. There was a meeting first week of June about Michael Jackson's health at his house.
And I was reassured that he was fine.
There was a meeting the 20th of June about Michael Jackson's health at his house.
Where I was again reassured by both Michael and by Dr. Murray.
And both times his doctor was asked to be at this particular meeting. Is that right?
That is correct.
And Kenny Ortega had been complaining that he was missing rehearsals. He was sick at rehearsals, right?
Right, and I became aware of it
And
at
in
that
fact,
point.
the whole show was pushed back a whole week, right? The start of the
Not
show.
for Michael's health. That had nothing to do with his
Was the show pushed back or wasn't it?
It had nothing to do with Michael's health. Yes, it was.
Okay. And after the meeting on the 20th, you personally attended the June 23rd rehearsal. Is that right?
You're correct.
Which you said was an unusual appearance for you.
Both of them were, yes.
Now, if the concerts were canceled, would AEG lose money?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Were you insured?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Mr. Phillips, is AEG currently being sued?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained. We'll go to another subject. Thank you.
Maybe at least approach so I can...
Sure. Chernoff, thank you.
One of the things that you said, Mr. Phillips, is that you had a contractual obligation to Michael Jackson.
That is correct.
And so I assume by that you were suggesting that AEG would never pull the plug on the tour.
Objection. The state's testimony argumentative.
I'll overrule the objection. You may answer it.
Okay. It's not a unilateral thing for us to pull the plug, that we had a contractual obligation to Michael. Michael had one to us. This is something that we would have had to mutually have decided upon.
Was it your understanding that AEG was on the hook for the cost of the production so far, up until June 22nd, 2009?
Objection. Relevance. Your Honor.
Overruled. You may answer it.
Okay. Would you please tell me what on the hook means?
Well, Michael Jackson was ultimately responsible for the production costs up until June 25th, 2009. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Contractually, he was responsible for that.
Correct.
And the cost of what he was responsible for was in the tens of
Objection.
millions of
Relevance,
dollars.
Your Honor. Based on the court's prior.
The objection is sustained.
However, AEG had cancellation insurance.
Objection. Relevance based on the court's prior ruling.
Sustained.
Is it your testimony, Mr. Phillips, that Kenny Ortega, out of nowhere, used terms like pull the plug and tough love in his email?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll overrule the objection.
Okay. When you say out of nowhere, I wasn't in Kenny's mind. Okay. I don't know what his mens rea was when he said that. I wasn't at the rehearsal. Okay. I was responding to his email.
Is it your understanding that Kenny Ortega was insane?
Objection. Argumentative.
He says
No.
in
Just
his
a moment, please. Sustained. Partial answers.
he said, we have tried tough love, and the email was directed to you, right?
Right.
He said,
Objection. Beyond the scope. Relevance.
I'll overrule the objection. Finish your question, please.
he said, pulling the plug would hurt Michael Jackson. He directed that to you, right?
That is correct.
Pulling the plug is the words that he used, right?
That is correct.
Did you respond to Kenny Ortega's email?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
I don't remember responding to his email other than setting up the meeting when I got the call from Frank DeLeo that he thought we should have this meeting at the house on the 20th.
And then Frank DeLeo called you.
Yes.
Is that right? Now, when you spoke to Dr. Murray about Arnold Klein, I believe on cross, you said that Dr. Murray appeared to he acknowledged hearing what I was saying. Is that what you remember?
Correct.
Other than telling Dr. Murray that Michael Jackson was seeing Dr. Klein, did you add anything to that at all?
Not that I remember, no.
What is it about the meeting on that first week of June, that led you to feel like you had to share that with Dr. Murray?
Because there were two instances. There was the prior meeting I discussed where we had a production meeting with Michael, which was a routine meeting at the house, and he seemed distracted and not focused on what we were talking about, which was the first time I'd ever seen him not laser focused on what the show was and what we were doing.
So you thought that was Dr. Klein's fault, or part of his visit to Dr. Klein?
It's not what I said.
All right. Well, what are you saying?
What I said is when I left the house, I went to Michael Amir and asked him, is Michael okay? Because of the lack of focus on the meeting, and he said he just came from Dr. Klein, just like that.
You asked Michael Amir if Michael Jackson was okay,
Yeah.
based on the fact that he appeared distracted?
Yes.
Just distracted?
Not focused.
There was another time that you called Michael Amir and asked to speak to Michael Jackson,
That's
right?
That's the second time, correct.
And during that occasion, he says, no, he can't speak to you?
He said we couldn't have the meeting because he had just come from Dr. Klein's office.
And there was another time that you were shown a bill from Dr. Klein from Frank DeLeo.
It wasn't Frank DeLeo.
Well, who showed you the bill?
Michael Caine, who had become Michael Jackson's business manager and was brought in by, I believe, Frank DeLeo.
And it was for a 6-week period of time?
Beyond the
Overruled.
scope.
I'll allow counsel. Overruled. You may answer.
It was for a 6-week period of time, you recall?
You know, I don't remember if it was 6 weeks or 3 months, or I think it was 2009. So whatever that period was, 2009.
Do you recall what the bill amount was?
Objection
Yeah.
of relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained. The partial answer stricken.
Did the amount shock you? Were you surprised by the amount?
Objection of relevance.
Sustained. Another subject.
Why were you presented the bill?
Objection of relevance. Speculation beyond the scope.
The objection is sustained. On the speculation objection.
All right, well, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chernoff, thank you. Recross?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. May Mr. Phillips be excused, Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Walgren?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Phillips, I want to thank you for your testimony. Sir, please don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial. You may step down. You may leave.
Thank you, Your
sir.
Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. May I see counsel? Thank you. Chernoff, Mr. Flanagan, you may call your next witness. Flanagan? The witness would be?
Mike Hansen.
Thank you.
Sir, would you please stand in the witness box? Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
Michael Dean Henson, first name Michael, last name Henson.
Mr. Henson, good afternoon, sir. Let me provide you with some introductory instructions that I give to every witness in every case. Firstly, please sit back and relax. Secondly, please speak loudly using the microphone in front of you. Thirdly, if you're called upon to provide a yes or no answer, please do so and avoid using slang like or which can be confusing. And lastly, please wait until you hear an entire question before you even start to answer it, even though you may think you know what the question asks. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. This will be direct examination by the defense. Mr. Flanagan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Mr. Henson, what's your occupation?
I am the Technical Operations Officer at Pacific Toxicology Laboratories, which is the parent company of Forensic Toxicology Associates.
What does a technical officer do at Pacific Toxicology?
I manage the technical operations of the laboratory and provide technical consultation to the staff. And
What type of clients do you have?
we have, our clients are typically defense lawyers, and we do some work with some police departments. In San Diego County, we've done work, and in Nevada. And we provide forensic testing services for these clients, along with clinical testing services to doctors, hospitals, and clinics.
Okay, you do independent testing?
We do independent testing, yes.
What's your educational background that qualifies you to be involved in this field?
I have a bachelor's degree from California State University, Northridge in biology. I'm licensed in the state of California as a clinical laboratory scientist, and I've been doing analytical toxicology for 31 years now.
How do you get licensed in the state of California as a clinical analyst?
Clinical laboratory scientist.
Yes.
It requires the educational background, the degree, and then you need to do a one-year training program at a laboratory or a hospital, and then you have a test, the clinical laboratory scientist exam that you take, and then you have to maintain 12 units of continuing education a year.
What kind of equipment do you use in doing these analyses?
Well, there's quite a range of equipment that can be used. Most of it's done on gas chromatography, mass spectroscopy. Some of it is LC-MS, LC-MS-MS, enzyme immunoassay, ELISA, which is enzyme-limited immunosuppressant assay, and many other technologies.
So there's many different types of technology that your company has to do these tests?
Yes.
Are you familiar with all these devices that they use to do the
Most
test?
of them, yes.
On August 31st, did you obtain a couple urine samples from the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office?
Can I check the date?
Sure.
Yes, we did.
That's August 31st, 2011?
Yes, that's correct.
And one of those urine samples was designated as the scene urine and one designated as the autopsy urine?
That's correct.
Two separate samples.
Yes.
And on the scene urine, did you run a test for lorazepam metabolite or total lorazepam in that sample?
The test would have been total lorazepam. Yes, we
And what is included in total lorazepam?
That includes the lorazepam glucuronide and any free lorazepam that might be present.
Okay. When you analyze the scene urine, the what we've been referring to as the 7 o'clock or 7:30 urine, what did you find in terms of lorazepam?
I'm sorry, you mean the total lorazepam?
Total lorazepam.
Total lorazepam. We found 12,974 nanograms per mil of total orazepam, which is equivalent to 12.9 microgram per mil.
Did you also analyze the autopsy urine?
We did.
And what did you find in that?
That was 15,181 nanograms per mil, which is equivalent to 15.1 micrograms per milliliter.
Okay, so the scene, the urine that was obtained at the scene tested positive, and are these the numbers that you received when you did the analysis?
That's the urine from the scene. Those are the correct numbers for the urine from the scene.
Your Honor, what is our next exhibit?
Just a moment. I'm sure the jurors will tell me. Looks like Sierra, Sierra, Sierra. Correcto? Jury's indicating affirmative. Mrs. Benson? Thank you.
Okay,
Triple S.
I'm marking the scene urine exhibit as SS.
S.
SSS, yes. And is this the results from the autopsy urine?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to mark that triple T.
Triple Tango.
Now, Mr. Henson, when it comes to, have you done any calculations to, let me see. I'm showing you an exhibit that's previously been marked as exhibit triple C, which has been identified by Dr. Schaefer as a blood level for lorazepam based upon 2 milligram injections at 2 o'clock and a 2 milligram injection at 5 o'clock. The red line has been represented to be the blood level that would be achieved over the time that it would be achieved. You see that?
I do.
And would you be capable, based upon calculations, of estimating how many pills it would take to be orally ingested, say at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or 10 o'clock, whether they're all taken at 7 o'clock, whether they're all taken at 10 o'clock, or a combination of times? Overall, approximately how many pills would have to be consumed between 7 and 10 to get to a level of 0.169?
Are you asking me if I have, or?
Have you done that calculation?
Yes, I have.
And what amount of pills and what variables would it take? Have you considered in evaluating the amount of pills it would take?
Objection beyond this witness's area of expertise, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection, absent further foundation. And when you use the term pills, I don't know what.
Well, okay. Are you familiar
But in
with?
terms of foundation, please inquire.
In your qualifications becoming certified by the state of California, have you learned to analyze samples and determine the approximate amount of drug ingested to obtain certain readings?
As part of the analytical toxicology process, no. I have learned how to use the calculation to determine dosage to therapeutic level, yes.
And what do you use to make that determination?
There's a formula available.
What is that formula?
I don't have it with me here. It is a dose to peak formula that uses the volume of distribution of a drug or of a person, and uses the elimination rate and the half-life of the drug.
And do you make these calculations on a regular basis in the course and scope of your employment?
No, I do not.
This would be an unusual situation?
Yes, it would.
Do you rely on the text, the lorazepam description in the book by Basalt?
I refer to Basalt. Basalt does not have this calculation in it.
Well, does Basalt have the calculation that you would expect to obtain by the ingestion of one tablet, 2 milligram tablet of lorazepam?
It does not have the calculation, but it does have what you would expect from the ingestion of 1 milligram.
And do you rely on that book?
Yes.
And what would you expect from the ingestion of 1 2 milligram tablet of lorazepam?
Well, I would have to refer to Basalt. I don't have that memorized.
If I could have just a minute, Your Honor.
You may, sure.
Showing you an article titled Lorazepam. You recognize that article?
I do.
And are these the figures that you rely upon in determining half-life, absorption life, and what you'd get from a 2 milligram pill?
What you get from a 2 milligram pill is published in the article. So is the half-life, and the volume of distribution is published in the article.
And what do you get from a 2 milligram pill?
According to Basalt, you're going to have a 2 milligram pill is going to have point.
Record reflect he's reading from the article.
Yes.
Well, is there an objection, or do you simply want the record to
There's an
reflect?
objection, Your Honor.
The objection is sustained, the partial answer stricken. You may disregard, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you familiar with that article?
Yes.
Have you reviewed it before?
Yes.
And have you relied upon it in determining the amount that you'd get from a 2 milligram pill?
Yes.
And as a result of reading that article, does it refresh your recollection as to what that amount would be?
Yes.
What would you get from a 2 milligram pill?
You would get point.
Same objection.
The witness appears to be reading, so the partial answer stricken, please disregard. You may turn over the article. If you need to reference it, you can let us know. But I think the question is calling for your own opinion. Is that right, Mr. Blank?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may re-inquire, please.
Mr. Hanson, in your opinion, what would you get from the ingestion of a 2 milligram pill?
From a 2 milligram pill, you get 0.018 micrograms per mil.
Okay, and do you have a recollection of the half-life of lorazepam?
It's about.
Are we talking about absorption half-life?
Metabolic
I'm going to have to sustain the objection. Re-ask, please.
metabolism, burn-off, elimination half-life.
Objection relevance as to stomach absorption half-life.
I don't know in what context the question is phrased. Sustain.
Are you aware of what the elimination half-life is of lorazepam?
Objection vague unless we're specifying the absorption half-life in the stomach. That's what this chart refers to.
No.
All right, the objection is overruled. Do you understand the question?
I believe I do, yes.
You may answer it.
What is the elimination half-life?
12.9 hours.
Excuse me?
12.9 hours.
12.9 hours. And what does that mean, half-life, elimination half-life?
That is an indicator of how long it would take for the blood level to drop by 1/2, how much time it would require for the blood level to drop by 1/2.
So if a person had a 0.16 blood level of lorazepam, it would take 12.9 hours before it would go to a 0.08?
That's correct.
Okay. And is that number significant in your figure in calculating the number of pills that it would take to get to a certain level?
It's part of the calculation, yes.
Okay. And so, looking at that diagram that was prepared by Dr. Schaefer up there, does it appear that the level between 7 and 10 appears to be fairly consistently right around 2?
That's
02?
appears to be about the same, a little lower at 10 than at 7.
But fairly close.
Fairly close.
And would you estimate it to be right around 2, plus or minus a little bit?
Hard to see on the chart, but it could be around 2.
You see where it says femoral vein concentration?
Yes.
I believe Dr. Schaefer drew that in to mean .169. Does it appear to be, as it's drawn, depicting a .169?
Yes.
And you see where it says not responsive to painful stimulus appears to be about a .18?
Yes.
And the other line where it says responsive to painful stimulus, just above a .15.
Yes.
Now, the difference between the .02 plus or minus a little bit at 7 and the .02 at 10 to the .169 concentration, is that approximately .149?
Yes.
Have you made the calculation as to what it would take in terms of lorazepam pills to go from a .02 to a .149?
This is area of expertise, Your Honor.
Sustained, absent further foundation.
Can we approach, Your Honor?
You may.
In your training and experience in the laboratory that you work at, what background qualifies you to make calculations as to amount of drugs that it takes to get to certain levels?
Well, part of the training that we've had in getting the licensure, continuing education that we've taken in order to maintain the licensure, and various organizations that we attend, call it the California Association of Toxicologists meetings and other association meetings.
And have you ever been asked to estimate therapeutic levels of drugs?
On rare occasions by some of our clients.
And have you ever been asked to estimate, based upon your analysis, whether that particular analysis constitutes a therapeutic level?
We usually support that with the analysis we're doing in the laboratory.
Excuse me?
We usually support those questions with analysis that we're performing in the laboratory.
Okay, and what do you mean by that? I'm not sure I understand your answer.
Well, we have tests we do where we determine drug concentration in blood, and we compare that to the therapeutic ranges.
And in comparing that to the therapeutic range, are you able to determine how you reach the therapeutic range from the dosage?
No, that's up to the clinician.
It's up to the clinician? Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Do counsel want to approach? Let us, please. I keep asking for your continued patience. I'll play back the tape on that. So bear with us. We have to discuss another matter that just came up. So we're going to take 15 minutes of your valuable time, but we need it. So please remember the admonishments, and we'll buzz you out in about 15. Thank you.